Good evening, Facebookians and children everywhere. Welcome to our very first children's story time. And we have a small selection of books here at the monastery and the retreat center for children when they come to visit. And so I selected one of the books to read tonight, and it's a really interesting book. It is called Crow Boy, and I didn't realize as I opened the book here. Oh, let me show you the cover. This is Crow Boy by Taro Yashima, who is Japanese, and the story is set in Japan. And so this is our first story time. So I want to open this book very carefully because this is not a new book. This is a book that was written in 1955. So I had to count on my fingers 55, 65, 75, 85, 95, 205, 215, right? That's 60, and 65 years old. So these pictures and the words were written a very long time ago, and I am really happy. Here's the foreword, and this says, to Mitsu and Momo. To Mitsu and Momo, who helped make this book, and to Takeo Isonaga, who appears in this story as a teacher named Isobi. So that's interesting, isn't it? So, Crow Boy. And I thought maybe this would be about Native Americans, because sometimes the children, the Native American children, are very fond of crows, or they're fond of certain animals, but it's not. It's about Japan. So let's go to the first page. I love the drawings in this book. And I begin. On the first day of our village school in Japan, there was a boy missing. He was found hidden away in the dark space underneath the schoolhouse floor. Do you see him? None of us knew him. He was nicknamed Chibi because he was very small. Chibi means tiny boy. Let's see what's next. This strange boy was afraid of our teacher and could not learn a thing. He was afraid of the children and could not make friends with them at all. See, he's sitting all by himself, and there's the other children up here looking at him, wondering what's going on. Here he is. He was left alone in the study time. He looks very sad, doesn't he? He was left alone in the playtime. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? He's not even there. He was always at the end of the line. Here he is, way down here. Can you see him? All the other children are lined up, going together into the school, but here's Chibi down here. Always at the foot of the class. The foot of the class means last in getting good grades. A forlorn little tag-along. I think these are the kinds of trees that are in Japan very often. I don't know their name, but they're a beautiful tree, a Japanese tree. Oh my, this is an interesting picture. The words say, soon Chibi began to make his eyes cross-eyed. This must have been what he would see. Look at, he's got his eyes crossed there. Why would he do that? Here we go. So that he was able not to see whatever he did not want to see. What was he seeing? People making faces, little boys making faces, sticking their tongue out. And see here the little girl at the blackboard. But she looks like 3 because his eyes are crossed. And when he looked at the teacher, he didn't see 1 teacher, but he saw 3 teachers. And this up here is Japanese writing. And Chibi found many ways, one after the other, to kill time and amuse himself. Just the ceiling was interesting enough for him to watch for hours. There's the ceiling. The wooden top of his desk was another thing interesting to watch. What's over here? A patch of cloth on a boy's shoulder was something to study. In the old days, children didn't have a whole cloth. This must have been a very poor area because you can see that these were patches sewn onto the children's clothing. They couldn't afford new clothes. So he's looking at one of the little patches of extra cloth. Of course, the window showed him many things all year round. We see trees looking out the window and birds. Even when it was raining, the window had surprising things to show him. Kind of pretty patterns. Like today, here at Lotus Lake, it's raining, and that's what we see on our windows. My, what is happening here? On the playground, if he closed his eyes and listened, Chibi could hear many different sounds, near and far. Here's must be a creaking wheel pulling up water from the well. Here's someone chopping on a log. What is this? Sawing a big log with a big saw. Oh, look here. Here's a man pulling a cart with wheels, and there's things on the cart. Up here, we see a horse and carriage. This was the old days, so I don't think we're going to see any cars. What is that? A rooster, and there's a cow. And this looks like a postman. So he has his eyes closed, and he's just listening very hard. And Chibi could hold and watch insects and grubs that most of us wouldn't touch or even look at. There's all his friends, the little bugs. So that not only the children in our class, but the older ones and even the younger ones called him stupid and slowpoke. They're making bad faces at him. What's next? But slowpoke or not, day after day, Chibi came trudging to school. He always carried the same lunch, a rice ball wrapped in a radish leaf. And there's his lunch sitting on his desk. He didn't miss school. Even when it rained or stormed, he still came trudging along, wrapped in a raincoat made from dried zebra grass. Just look how interesting that is. All the other children had umbrellas, but he had a coat made from grass. And so Day by day, 5 years went by. And we were in the 6th grade, the last day, the last class in school. Our new teacher was Mr. Isobi. There he is. They're greeting him. He was a friendly man with a kind smile. Mr. Isobi often took his class to the hilltop behind the school. There they are. He's teaching them outdoors. Isn't that a pretty drawing? So the grass and the bushes don't exactly look like a bush, but they paint them just a little bit so you get the idea that it is grass and a bush. Isn't that great? I do painting, and I love to look at paintings like this. He was pleased to learn that Chibi knew all the places where the wild grapes and wild potatoes grew. So Chibi seems to be smart in a different way. I think this is called a wild potato. Maybe we would call that taro root. Wild potato, and those are small grapes. He was amazed to find how much Chibi knew about all the flowers in our class garden. Other children, they don't know anything. They're just standing at the side watching, and he knows everything. What does this look like here? Corn, isn't it? And these are the flowers. Again, they just make tiny, tiny marks on the paper to represent flowers. And then your mind sees that, and you think, oh, flowers. Now here we have some real Japanese drawings. He liked Chibi's black and white drawings and tacked them up on the wall to be admired. So this looks like below the ground, doesn't it? Here's different rocks and there's grass on top. Now, I'm not sure about that sun, but he's an artist, so he can do it any way he likes, right? And here's a tree that was cut down a little bit, but the roots still are there. This must be water. This must be water underground. He liked Chibi's own handwriting, which no one but Chibi could read, and he tacked that up on the wall. So we don't know what that says. And he often spent time talking with Chibi when no one was around. But when Chibi appeared on the stage at the talent show of that year, no one could believe his eyes. Who is that? What can that stupid do up there? The people were saying, and they're pointing. There he stands on the stage. He's going to do something. These must be the judges over here, deciding who's the most talent. Until Mr. Isobi announced that Chibi was going to imitate the voices of crows. Voices? Voices of crows? Voices of crows? This is interesting. Voices of crows. First, he imitated the voices of newly hatched crows. There's the baby crows. And he made the mother crow's voice. Then he imitated the father crow's voice. Look, there's a frog watching. Maybe he's going to eat that frog, I don't know. He showed how crows cry early in the morning. He showed how crows cry when the village people have some unhappy accident, as though the crows knew what was going on in the village. He showed how crows call when they are happy and gay. Everybody's mind was taken to the far mountainside, from which Chibi probably came to school. And there's a distant place that they don't know about. Oops. I got so interested, the book was slipping. How very interesting. At the end, to imitate a crow on an old tree, Chibi made very special sounds deep in his throat. Now, I'm going to try to do this. Gawak, gawak. Now everybody could imagine exactly the far and lonely place where Chibi lived with his family. Isn't that beautiful? And there's his house. And there's flowers. And here's the crow. Then Mr. Asobi explained how Chibi had learned those calls, leaving his home for school at dawn. That's when the sun just is coming up. And arriving home at sunset. How long he was gone. Every day for 6 long years. Now, this is his teacher, and Chibi is bowing down like the Japanese people do when they feel shy and they don't want to acknowledge they're special, that they bow in like a humble. This is interesting. Now, every one of us cried, thinking how much we had been wrong to Chibi all these long years. Oh, there's somebody crying there. Where? There's somebody else. It looks, there's many of them crying. Even she is comforting the girl next to her. Look at their pretty clothes, though. They're Japanese kimonos. Let's see what else. Even grown-ups wipe their eyes, saying, yes, yes, he is wonderful. Look at that. There's all the adults, the mothers and fathers. They also thought he was stupid, but now they know. There looks like a grandma there. They're turning away and crying. Soon after that came graduation day. Chibi was the only one of our class honored for perfect attendance throughout all the 6 years. Now he's bigger, of course. This is 6 years gone past. People are very happy for him. After school was over, the big boys would often have to have work to do in the village for their families. Bringing food. They're going to a store, it looks like. Here's special Japanese flags. I went to Japan long, long time ago, and I saw flags like that. They're quite beautiful. Like a fish. Sometimes Chibi came to the village to sell the charcoal he and his family made. That's the charcoal on the back of a horse. But nobody called him Chibi anymore. We all called him Crow Boy. Hi, Crow Boy. There's people excited to see him come to town. Crow Boy would nod and smile if he liked the name, as if he liked the name. And when his work was done, he would buy a few things for his family. What do we have? Rope. Here's shoes. These are special Japanese-style shoes. I don't know what those are. Maybe Mexican jumping beans? Probably not. And here's the different Crocs. People buy things. Maybe that's some kind of cabbage in there. Oh, here's nails. That's easy to see. Then he would set off for his home on the far side of the mountain, stretching his growing shoulders proudly like a grown-up man. And from around the turn of the mountain road would come a crow call, the happy one. And that is the end of our story. Thank you for letting me tell you this story. I enjoyed reading it myself. Crow Boy. You wouldn't be able to find it, so play this again and we'll meet again. See you.